We are going to continue the message that we started a couple weeks ago. I promised that I would finish it. Went through just a couple of points, and we're going to look at the rest of the things that God has in store for us today. Again, happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Here in Deuteronomy chapter 1, we read what God says through the prophet Moses. Deuteronomy chapter 1, we're going to springboard off of this verse. This is a bonus verse for Father's Day. If you're there, say amen. Amen. That's at least 5 people, so I can go forward with that. Remember, this is the new generation. This is the Joshua generation that actually possesses the promised land. Now, the former generation, which we will look at today in Exodus, they were given the same opportunity as this generation, but they chose to literally perish in the desert. This particular generation, 1 million+ people, will actually enter the land that God promised them. Are you entering the land that God has promised you spiritually and otherwise? Amen. Those 4 of you that said amen, thank you. Here in Deuteronomy chapter 1, and look at this. This communicates God's care. This communicates His love for His people. It says in verse 30, are you with me? The Lord your God, who is going before you, will fight for you, as He did for you in Egypt, before your very eyes. And in the desert, there you saw how the Lord your God carried you as a father carries his son. As a father carries his son. All the way you went until you reached this place. They are on the threshold. For 40 years, God graciously carried them, provided for them. Now let's go back 40 years. Are you ready to go back 40 years with me?
Yes, sir.
Go to Exodus chapter 16 as we continue there. 40 years God provided for them in a desert place. They couldn't grow anything there. They couldn't produce anything there. But God graciously provided for them. Do you feel like you're going through a desert sometimes emotionally, spiritually, financially, and so forth? Well, as you're going through that desert, you can still trust God to provide for you. God is still God in the desert during those times that seem that, all hell is breaking loose. He is still God. Now read with me. We're going to read the whole chapter of Exodus chapter 16. And he says, the whole Israelite community set out from Elim. This was the oasis that they stayed at. And came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they had come out of Egypt. Verse 2. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. It says that the Israelites said to them, quote, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat. You can see where their priorities were. And ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day they are to prepare what they bring in. And that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, in the evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumblings or your complainings against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us? Moses also said, quote, you will know it is the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the entire Israelite community, 'Come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumblings.'" While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. The Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." That evening, quail, these small birds, came and covered the camp, very edible. And in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, quote, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each one is to gather as much as he needs." Repeat, as much as he needs. "Take an omer for each person you have in your tent." And an omer is like 2 quarts. The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some gathered some little. And when they measured it by an omer, the omer, he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered as much as he needed, as much as he needed. Then Moses said to them, "No one is to keep any of it until morning." Why? Because this is going to be every single day for 40 years. You don't need to eat leftovers. Tell the person next to you, no leftovers. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots. Thank you for that reaction. And began to smell. So Moses was angry with them. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as he needed. And when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person. And the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning." So they saved it till morning as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. "Eat it today," Moses said, "because today is a Sabbath day. You're not supposed to cook, you're just supposed to rest. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any." Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather it in, but found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the 7th day. No one is to eat. No one is to go out." So the people rested on the 7th day. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was white like coriander seed. You know what manna means, right? What is it? That's literally what manna means. Quote, "What is it?" Okay? It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. You think it was good? Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for generations to come, so they can see the bread I give you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt." So Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put an omer of manna in it, then place it before the Lord to be kept for generations to come." As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony that it might be kept. The Israelites ate manna 40 years until they came to the land that was settled. They ate manna until the day they reached the border of Canaan. And an omer of manna is 1/10 of an ephah. In other words, about 2 quarts. But if you